Hello and welcome to another video, and today I want to talk about a concept of balancing IS versus the clans. And this is being spurred on specifically by two comments made by Russ Bullock on Twitter. First one here being December 6th. Also, we are not forgetting that some chassis need baseline help, like say my Dragon. We have a plan for this in the working with the base stats, and also this update from December 8th. It's true that many mechs will be keeping their needed quirks as new baseline attributes that the skill tree will add onto. So that was in response to him stating that actually the skill tree video said that all quirks are going away, but realistically we're actually going to keep some of them because we're going to make some of those quirks just baseline stats. So your Dragon in this sense will probably keep its durability under the new system. Now, that's interesting. There have been some ideas in the past about having, saying, varying armor levels between mechs, so a certain mech can just take more armor, or a certain mech just has more health, and that's sort of like it's one of its aspects. That, if that's the case, maybe that should be conveyed to the player a bit better. You can't see internal health in the mech lab, so you couldn't see structure bonuses. But there's another thing that, especially for the Dragon, what he says earlier, that makes the Dragon a little bit more difficult to play and a little bit easier to kill. Have a little bit of a, we're looking at the Dragon here. We can see that its nose just projects out forward, and its side torsos are actually fairly easy to pick off. Now, this doesn't help it because the fact that an IS XL engine dies from a side torso. So if you take off a single side torso, this mech's gonna die. But why is that? Why does that occur to a clan mech but it doesn't occur to, well, why does that occur to an IS mech when that doesn't occur to a clan mech? Well, it's the interpretation of two different rules from BattleTech. We're going to take a look at them here. This is from the damaging part of the rules. Engine torso. Battle mech engines have 3 points of shielding. Each critical hit to an engine slot destroys 1 point of shielding. As points of shielding are destroyed, the amount of heat escaping from the battle mech's fusion drive increases. And from the damage resolution part of the rules, Step 5. Is there internal structure remaining in the location? Yes, the attack is finished. No, the location and all components contained in it are destroyed. The destruction of components in this fashion will not cause an ammunition explosions, but otherwise all components in location are affected as if they were critically hit. Go to Step 6. So that's part of the damage resolution chain of steps in order to determine how your mech gets damaged. Very interestingly here, it says that if you completely, say, destroy a side torso on a mech, each slot will be critically hit, and an IS XL side torso has 3 slots, and we know from the previous rule that if you take 3 points of shielding, you're dead. That's why. That is why this occurs. But the thing was, that didn't matter as much in the board game, because you could take 3 critical hits in your engine from anything. That's something that MechWarrior Online doesn't simulate at all. Otherwise, you would have the situation where your torso was open. You say you had a open center torso that had just had internals, and a spider comes along with machine guns and just shoots you for a second or two, scores 3 lucky critical hits on your engine, and you would just shut down. That wouldn't be fun at all. It may be interesting, but especially for the spider pilot, he would feel like a god, but it wouldn't be fun for the player that got that. So what they did is they just went for, you have to destroy the sections. But again, that wasn't like it was in the board game, because all of the damage, the locations it would be while it was weighted, it would hit certain locations more often depending on how the enemy was facing in your position to them. They'd have sort of weighted hit trees, but it was RNG. it was fairly random. So you wouldn't always just be like, well, this big mech came over the hill and every single one of its weapons are going to hit that same torso, like we can right now. If a mech comes over a hill and has good aim, you can just dump in its alpha strike and just take off a side torso. The unfortunate part of that is it means that ISXLs are just much worse in the first-person shooter aspect comparatively to the board game aspect. So what I have done here is to demonstrate how much tougher you are with a Clan XL compared to an ISXL. And we're doing this by the minimum amount of damage it takes to kill a mech through its engine. We're not thinking about headshots or legging or anything along those lines. And then also we're going to look at the maximum amount of damage it takes, and then what happens when we quirk things and how that affects these calculations. So starting here, we have all of the various tonnages, 20 down to 100 in the 5-ton increments. The amount of health that the center torso has in total. This is armor and structure, and the side torso as well. Now if we think about what is the minimum damage it takes to kill a mech, assuming the mech is standing completely still and we have perfect aim, well, for a clan mech, if you try to go through the side torsos, you have to go through both of them. So you would have to go through 2 times the side torsos. So that would be 60 damage. So obviously, just going through the center torso is the best, and that is why we have clan here at 36. But with the IS, it would just go through one side torso. That's the easiest way to kill them, if they have that XL engine. So we go through the side, it's only 30 points. And what we're doing here is we're just doing a quick division and getting how much stronger the center torso is compared to the side torso, because that's really the calculation here. And you can see all the way down it varies a little bit, but this is also due to the varying health amounts you gain per level, and you can have more information on that in my health and armor video I did about a week ago. But we can see, 20%, 33%, 40%. It's a little fluctuating down here at the lower ends, but once you get past sort of the 50-55s, it's just 40 to 50% for the rest of the heavies and assaults. So just baseline stats, no matter what, the same exact mech with a Clan XL engine compared to an ISXL engine is just 50%, 40-50% more durable. And this is assuming the enemy has perfect aim and you're a potato, like you're just not twisting at all. You take all that damage in the one section. But let's flip it around. Let's assume the enemy's shooting as the potato and they're going to spread damage everywhere, and you are a piloting god and you can transfer all of the damage perfectly. So you can use up all of your armor and all of your internals before you die. What's the maximum amount of damage it takes to kill you? The absolute maximum. Well, for clan mechs, you need at least 2 hit points to survive. 1 in your CT and 1 in each side torso. No, 1 each. 1 in one of the side torsos. So 2 hit points in total. So what we do here for the clan is we add up center plus side minus 1. Because that means that at that point where you're at the absolute minimum health you can have, with 1 point in the CT and 1 point in one of the sides, if you lost 1 more, which would be the -1, that would be the maximum amount of damage you could take, and you would die. Same thing with the IS, but since they need all 3 sections to have 1 hit point at least, they would die when the last hit point was taken away from one of their sections. They're only -2. But you can see, that just makes it so that they're 1 point off from each other, all the way down. Clan is just 1 hit point more. And this means you have an XL tougher than just, 0.25 to 1%. Hardly any change. And of course, this is going to vary depending on the gameplay situation. This is the absolute worst situation in terms of, you're not twisting at all, and the opponent is just gunning straight through you. That's the minimum amount of damage. Well, this is the absolute best situation. You have the most skill and they have no skill, and you are able to use every single hit point. You can see that basically, no matter what, the clan engine is going to be stronger and more durable than the IS engine. But it varies a lot based on skill. It goes from this range. It's from 1% to 20% better. It's from 0.25% to 52% better. That's actually the biggest jump in the system, is at 90 tons. So it's like, and that is just because that there's 3 slots in the side torso. But what happens, say, if we're going to quirk the mech such that the side torso is the same health as the center torso? So we'll move along here and we'll move on to the second calculation. We can see that the side torso will have a quirk. The center torso is 36 points. The side torso was 30 points, but we're going to add a side torso quirk of 6 points, bringing them to equal. When that continues all the way down here. But we can see now, yeah, XL engines, the minimum damage it takes to kill you is no different. That's great. That's great. That means we've covered the problem off, and then we're just going to leave that as, we'll give every single IS mech this quantity of side torso quirks for each of their side torsos for every single mech. That way they can run XL engines and they'll be the same durability as clan ones. Not really. When we start looking at the maximum damage it takes to kill them, the IS here start to get an advantage because this side torso quirk is added to their total pool of health. This is assuming the pilot is really, really good at torso twisting and doesn't get cored out at any point. They would be, instead of being 1% to sort of 50% behind the clans, they're now either in line or actually up to 22% better. Because if you're able to, because we have to add the center torso, original side torso of 30, original side torso of 30, then the side torso quirk twice as well, then the -2, you actually have more health that you can use compared to the clans. And this is assuming an XL engine. If we just blanketly put all of these quirks onto IS mechs, they could take a standard. Like I probably would with something like a 85 tonner. I would do that on my stalker, I know I said that weirdly. But then that mech would have just disproportionate quantity of health compared to its clan counterparts. And this, I feel, is the main problem when we're trying to just put on quirks in order to compensate for this fact that having an IS XL engine die from a side torso loss, yes, that was part of lore, but it's extremely bad to be interpreted into a first-person shooter with accurate aim. Like, if we had it so that we had a reticle of aim, and it was a bloom dispersion like they have in World of Tanks, and you could hit anywhere within that circle and all that kind of stuff, this wouldn't matter as much. But the fact that we have pinpoint aim matters greatly, and it means that we'll never really have this balanced version of these two engines. Now, what we could do is introduce the light fusion engine, and this is a future tech item. It bridges the gap between clan and IS, but only halfway. Well, it is the same size as the clan engine, so we only have 2 slots in each side torso, and that makes it so we don't die from a side torso loss. It's only 50% of the savings compared to an XL. So we would be not getting as much tonnage. We'd have the same durability. All this durability stuff would go out the window. We would totally be fine, but then we would be falling behind on tonnage comparatively to the clan mechs. Even already they have half-weight missile launchers, AC autocannons that are lighter. Everything's lighter on the clans already. So we go and well, we can't really fix this, can we? we can, although it's going to piss off the lore junkies. We can just say that XL engines take 4 slots to die. We just change that rule. Instead of saying 3 slots to die for your engine, change that to 4. A 3 to a 4. It's a very, very, very small edit. It has implications that would just make IS and clans so much more equal. I feel that the entire difference between the clan and the IS forces in terms of balance, I think about 75% of that can be accounted for in the XL engine difference. If the IS want the same durability, they have to take a standard, but then they are completely screwing themselves over potential tonnage. If they want to not screw themselves over potential tonnage, then they're way less durable comparatively, unless we quirk them like crazy, and then things can get out of control, and you can actually have ISs that are more durable than the clans. It just gets strange, and it just gets difficult. So that's what I'm saying. Let's just make it so that IS XL engines do not die from a single side torso loss. Make them act just like clan engines, and I think a lot of our balance problems would go away. Now, we are going to get people that are arguing this. It's not lore. I don't care. That's my answer to that. It's better for the game, and screw lore in that one circumstance. There are going to be people who say, well, you're going to invalidate standard engines. And I would ask, does that matter? We already have clan standard engines with our clan battle mechs. When's the last time you put a standard engine into your clan, my god, I'm having a brain fart, Hunchback 2C? When's the last time you put a standard in your Hunchback 2C? I'm going to guess absolutely never, because there's no point. The XL engine has basically the same possible durability, and if you lose both side torsos in your Hunchback, who cares, because you're out of your big guns. All you're down, what, to your center torso 2 medium lasers? You might as well be dead. Like, you're not really going to be contributing anything on the battlefield. And sometimes you don't even have any center torso weapons. Like the 2 ERPPC design, 1 in each side torso. If you lose those side torsos, who cares? You should be dead anyway. So we already have an entire tech line of standard clan engines that have been invalidated. So who cares if we invalidate the IS ones? Anyway, that is just my idea on that topic. I really would like to see it. I think this would make the game a lot more balanced, and we wouldn't need as many of these quirks for just getting around the fact that this mech can be side torsoed easily, therefore it needs massive quirks. We could just be looking at things like this side torso, say, is disproportionately large, and therefore it needs a little bit of quirk in order to stay competitive. But that's going to be it for this video. Always leave your comments in the comment section below. I want to hear your opinions on this. This is I would rather do this than screw around with a whole bunch of additional quirks. But yeah, thanks for watching, and good hunting.